Hello, everybody. It's the Meet Me in the Middle podcast. So happy to be here. Good morning, Justin.
Morning, Jackson.
How's it going?
It's going, man. It's Friday. Can't have
Yeah.
a bad Friday. Not at 9:30 in the morning already.
There was so much traffic on the freeway to get the kids to school today.
Oh, really?
We got out of the house late, and there was a ton of
That's
traffic. It was bad.
well, my life and your life differ a little bit in that area.
A little bit.
I haven't had to get up and take any kids to school yet, so
Yeah, it was easy with one.
sure.
It was harder with two, and it's a coin flip with three. There's some days that it's like they all kind of pull each other along, and then there's other days where it's like they're just like going in three different directions, and it's like, what do I deal with? How do I triage this?
The choices we make, right?
Definitely.
Got to get it going like this.
Yeah, right. I met with a coworker about using ChatGPT to look for possible, people to do business with, attorneys and other like realtors that do specific things for some of our programs. And we started talking about Sora, and they had heard of it, but they hadn't really seen any of it. And right now, Sora, I believe, is still invite only. And for paid ChatGPT members, there's priority for the paid subscriptions. I signed up for Sora, and it took like three or 4 days before I got an invite code. And then when I got first signed in, it gave me 4 invite codes to give out. And so I gave this one of my coworkers one of the invite codes. It doesn't seem like there's that many people on there.
Well, again, I looked into it briefly, and again, like we're talking about Sora and kind of like AI in general, right? And this is kind of like the newer one that's hit, and it seems I think Sora 2 now is out, or 2.0, or whatever they're calling it.
That's the Sora that everyone's
Yeah,
using, a
'cause
Sora too. Yeah.
it started, I wanna say it's like almost like 8 or 9 years ago is when like it first started, and surprise, surprise, Elon Musk was one of the original people that was in it too, with Sam Altman and
Yeah.
everything. And then it turned out that it was started as a nonprofit, then it was like a different split off of it, and like, okay, so we're
Mhm.
getting like deeper into the money part, right? And then you find
Yeah.
out that Musk wanted it to be private, and he wanted like a controlling stake, and Altman and like the rest of the board was like, well, we're not doing that. So they had that little thing in the beginning. But yeah, I mean, I had never even heard of it until you started asking me about it or sending me stuff.
Yeah.
And then you started sending, then our initial conversation of like, tell me something completely unhinged that I'm like, okay, like how, and then
Well,
the direction you took it after I gave that, I never even saw that coming, where it was
so
like wolves and tutus in the middle of the park, and it's saying all this. I'm like,
the
what is,
initial conversation that we had, I think the first thing I told you was, this is horrible. Like, this is a really bad thing. And I'll tell you,
it wasn't a training endorsement at all.
well, this is what freaked me out about it, is that, we've had Instagram and Facebook and like these social media platforms for long enough that we have an algorithm. We have something that,
For better or for worse, yeah.
for better or for worse, if you were to start a brand new, not connected to any of your social media, like Instagram account, that algorithm would be kind of all over the place. And then as soon as you start connecting dots and following people, that algorithm starts building itself. That web starts building itself. When I first got this Sora account, I'm not following anybody. It doesn't know really anything about me. And I'm not the only one that experienced this. I looked up, I started doing a little bit of research, like, this doesn't make sense to me. The content that was immediately being served to me, because this is very, very like short after I had even first heard about this.
Mhm.
The content that I was getting was immediately really racist leaning, like real stereotypical. It was all these MLK videos, and that that one I sent you with like Michael Jackson stealing like fried chicken from someone at KFC, and
Yeah.
these like very questionable you know videos that I immediately said, wow, this is really bad. This is so bad. This is like, there's nothing on any of my feeds on any social media that's remotely close to that.
Yet it's feeding you that.
Yet it's serving me this like leaning stuff. I'm not liking any of it. I'm swiping away from it, and I haven't gotten really any of those videos since. But it's crazy to me that that
It
was the
started out that
first
way.
thing that it started out that way. I mean,
Coming
we
out of the
went
gate.
we went hard right on this, and you know that because when the first like set of a bunch of videos that I was seeing on Instagram that were getting served to me on like my reels were crazy weird stuff, like people like Stephen Hawking on a half pipe at like the X Games, or like him like as like an F1 race car, or Einstein rapping and stuff like that. There was one that was Hitler in a tutu, like live streaming, like a street like a gamer a streamer.
I think I saw that one. Yeah. Are you I think you might have sent me that one.
Probably the stuff that I was getting served on Instagram was pretty benign, in all honesty. Like that it was leaning towards a little bit of like risque, a little dark, but it definitely wasn't over the edge of like what I got what I got first started getting on that platform when I signed in. And my since I started liking things, the first video that I created, we went to Bravo Farms on the way back from Yosemite, and they had chickens, and I took a picture of these chickens. And when I looked at this picture, I uploaded this picture as a reference, and I said I want them to have like grow these big like muscly arms with tattoos on them, and I want them to fight like a chicken fight, not knowing what it was going to create. And it was pretty funny. These cartoonish arms with tattoos came out, and they're arguing and they're punching each other. It was funny. I immediately started getting all chicken content. People riding chickens like ostriches.
At
Bought
least
tick
you at
to
least you at least you didn't start getting a bunch of cockfighting videos.
right.
Yeah, no, I went into like OpenAI is the one that actually makes it. I went and looked at their mission statement and stuff because I was like, okay, so what is this thing, right? Like why is this a thing? What are they trying to accomplish? And it's just I think it's another whole thing to I think, we break it down in a couple things, right? As far as AI in general, goods and bads. This company in specific, what are they doing? How are they doing it? And then I think like a broader picture, if you read some of their mission statements, and you could even probably read them from Facebook and from Instagram, pretty much anything, because their whole thing is making this kind of like a social media AI generative kind of
Yeah.
feed platform, right? And no one's going to come out in the mission statement and say, we're going to let you do whatever you want. We don't care what it's like and post, and we don't care about the fallout that comes from it. No one's going to write that down. So, of course, their mission statement says, oh, we want to increase creativity and see what you can do and all these kinds of things. And, we want to, more about the individual's ability to create something,
I can
and
tell you what I think it is.
this
I mean,
will be good.
it's you know, I was just editing last week's episode, and we were talking about, if you're offered a product for free, the product is not the product, you are the product. And the same way that a pharmaceutical company would do a drug trial, they would pay people to take this medication for a certain amount of time and, give their feedback, all this stuff. We are the guinea pigs in this. They're providing us, they're paying us by giving us this content to ingest. But we are feeding their algorithm the same way that like Pokemon Go was they got all these people hooked on this, and it was a foreign company that wanted to map the inside and outside of every space in America, and they did it. And now they're selling that data, that augmented reality data. They're selling it as on the ground, like Google Street View type of thing. They have a scanned picture of every space in America at this point because of Pokemon Go. And so we were the ones that were feeding their
We,
database.
we were walking ping locations.
Exactly. And this whole thing is like, oh, ha ha ha, I'm getting some ha-has out of this. I'm doing a little bit of prompt engineering, trying to make some funny videos, and I'm tweaking it. That's one thing about it that's interesting, is that it produces this video, and it's got a post or an edit, and you can edit and you can adjust your prompt, and it will regenerate another video. So now you have two drafts of it. And You know, they're a lot of the same videos have a carousel type of, you know, feed to it. So it'll be the same video. Instead of like a 9 foot tall skinwalker, it's a werewolf or whatever. You can change short, small aspects of the exact same prompt and it'll give you multiple versions of that video. We are feeding their database with information at a
We're also
crazy rate.
providing free marketing for them too.
Correct. And I it's wild. It's absolutely wild. You know, the more that people use it, the better it's gonna get. The more realistic this stuff is gonna get. And I don't know if I shared with you. Did you see there was a like a MAGA conservative that stitched a video? It was a
You showed me, yeah, and
yeah.
some guy reacting. You're talking about the Antifa one, right? Where the guy's on the street getting paid, or are we talking about?
He said, I don't know what I'm gonna do now that I'm
Yeah,
not getting my Antifa or my protest pay. And
yeah,
they're like,
and
see,
the
they're
MAGA guy,
paying them.
well, the MAGA guy thought that was a real video,
Exactly.
and the other guy in the video had to explain, "Do you see this little thing written
Yeah.
right
See the
down here?
watermark?
It's a Sora." It's like, "This isn't real."
So this is a problem.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean,
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
there are going to be serious consequences and violence that comes out of shit like this. There are going to be like MAGA, not even MAGA. They're just going to be boomers that don't
No,
fully
yeah, and
understand.
it's not exclusive to that one dude that
No, of
was
course not.
watching it. It just happened to be layered that way. We can flip it around the other way and
Of course,
have some
of
liberal on a
course.
poll thinking that some.
I'll tell you, I experienced personally someone that I do business with that I've known a very long time. I trust this person. They are educated.
You're leading into this hard.
What?
It's just like I'm waiting for the. You're building up credibility. I'm waiting for like where are we falling from this?
Here, so check it out. This is a sweet baby boomer that I know.
Sure,
Educated, good head on her shoulders, right?
sure.
And told her, "Oh, we're going up to Yosemite." This is like a year ago, over a year ago. "Oh, we're going up to Yosemite." She goes, "Oh, be careful. The bears have taken over." And I said, what do you mean?" And she pulled up a picture that she saw on Facebook, and it was a bunch of bears like laying on the street or like on the road on like in the park, and there must have been like 50 or 60 of them, and it's like, oh yeah, they took over this section of the park. There's too many of them, and they can't get them out. It wasn't a video. It was in very clearly AI generated
Very clearly
video.
to you,
Or
obviously.
well, but I get it. I don't blame this person for believing it
Yeah,
because it looked very real at first glance. If you're scrolling through your feed, you'd go, "Oh my god, that's crazy."
yeah.
Even me, I see in being able to identify these AI videos. I think I told you when this Sora thing first came out, and I wasn't aware of looking for the Sora stuff. I was flipping through my feed on Instagram, and this video came up, and I went, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!"
Well, that's
And I had to go back, and then I saw a little watermark on there. I saw that some of the artifacts, like the telltale signs that it was AI, and I went, "Oh, thank God!" You know.
yeah. The
And
one.
it's only going to get less and less identifiable. The
Well, yeah.
watermark is really the only thing that's like saving us at this point. But I was driving the kids to school. On the side of a bus, there was an ad for a technical high school, and it had, these are all like middle school or maybe early high school age children, dressed as a chef, dressed as a construction worker, dressed as a doctor, and
I wish that.
from 6 cars away, I read it. I saw the children's faces, and I went, "Oh, okay." As we pulled up, all 4 of them were AI generated images. Clearly, AI generated images, but from 50 feet away, you couldn't tell, you know? And
Also on a moving thing, you know, so.
right. And my wife said, "Oh, well, I guess they don't need child models anymore, child actors anymore." And that brings up the like a whole other thing about PragerU. Are you familiar with PragerU?
I don't think so.
Super conservative organization. They're trying to change the curriculum in public schools. They're going against, critical race theory, and they're trying to bring the Bible back into school. But they have a hard conservative agenda, traditional like family values type of stuff to to the extreme. I think his name's Dennis Prager, the top guy there. They were interviewing him about AI and about AI generated content, and they were talking about child's, the exploitation material. And he goes, "Oh well, there's no victim in that. What's wrong with that? It's like if someone was going to consume this exploitation material, it's better that it's AI generated. Then they're not. There's no one. There's no one suffering." And this interviewer was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, that's bad. That's not a good thing to say that it's okay for someone to look at AI generated underage sex content."
Well, that was the whole thing with what was that show that, uh Euphoria, where it's
Yeah,
like, technically, you're watching these kids and they're in high school,
yeah,
technically, right? And it's
yeah,
just like tits and ass and sex, like,
yeah,
we all know what happened back then, but you have to rationalize with yourself a little bit. It's like, these kids are supposed to be in high school,
yeah,
and we're just watching this? It's like,
yep.
well, we know that they aren't, like, reasonable and rational adults know that they're actors, right? But you're kind of towing the line a little bit. So it's a weird, the one thing I'll say about, like, you did say about the algorithms and stuff like that, as far as Sora, they are very forward with saying that it's like a living, evolving system, right? So because it's new, they're gonna get feedback. They're gonna have they're working on the same reporting system of, like, if you see something you don't like, report it. They try and say they have people monitoring feeds
Well,
and people.
even the prompts that you put in, I put in something. I asked for, you know, I remember it was something stupid, and you can't have, if you upload an image as a reference material, it can't have a person in it because the only people that you can cameo is what it's called is someone that's already on the platform. So like if you had a Sora account, I could say Jackson and Justin, you know, doing X, Y, and Z, and it would make a video of that. But you can't use anybody that's not on the platform, and it has pretty strict content rules.
Yeah, I looked at their guidelines and stuff like that too.
But I even like there was one that I showed you, and they were using two benign words together to create what sounded like the N word, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're using a lot of
Well, yeah,
innuendo, and
people are
they're
gonna
getting around it.
trade in those gray areas, and that's where it's like, everybody now, right? The people have found out that the algorithms on everything else, you have to use the word unalive. And I was
Yeah,
like, is that some progressive stupid ass term? People like people experiencing home. Would you call them a homeless person? Like, why are we doing this? But then I realized,
they're residentially challenged.
but then I realized it's probably the algorithm in that's saying, if you say this word, we're not going to post it. So they found a
Oh
way.
yeah,
They found a
it's
way to say it. They
it's
found a
scanning
way to
for
say
those
it without
words.
saying it.
Yeah,
So it's
it's
like the
scanning for
same
those
thing's
words.
gonna happen here, is that they're gonna find a way to say it without saying it, and it's gonna mean the same exact thing, you
Well, you
know?
remember all those like reflection videos on Instagram that a couple years ago that I sent you one, and I said, "How is this up? How is this not
I see it
gotten
all the
flagged?
time.
This is straight up porn. I mean,
Yeah.
this is crazy."
Yep.
And Snapchat just had a big thing. There were several of the lenses on Snapchat. It just showed like a almost like a dirty mirror as like the button, and when you clicked on it, if you zoomed in, it was full on hardcore pornography, a full scene.
But because it wasn't directly, because it was in a reflection of something else, uh,
This wasn't even the
didn't
reflection
pick
of
it up.
something else.
Oh, wow.
This was a glitch that it came up and it looked like a dirty mirror, but when you zoomed in, that went away and it was just a full on like two
Oh,
panel, full color 4K. Like
almost like it wasn't in focus, and then once it came in focus, it, like, lit up.
it was wild. And I saw it reported on TikTok, and I went, that can't be, that can't be. And I thought, okay, this video on TikTok was 4 days ago. They've definitely taken it down. And I opened up Snapchat, and there they were. And I looked and I went, whoa, what? There's kids on Snapchat. I mean, like they
Well,
people will find a way to
firstly,
serve.
there shouldn't be kids on Snapchat. That would be my first thing, is that there shouldn't be.
Okay, most most social media platforms are what, 13?
Well, but how do you control that?
You don't.
Any kid that just says, "Oh, yeah, I was born in 2005," or whatever, all you have to do is put in your age. It's not like
So
how does it know?
there's two ends of that spectrum though, and this is, I think this is a good topic to talk about. There's one side of the spectrum where anybody can click a button that says, yep, I'm 13,
I
or
am.
yes,
I'm
I'm
18, yeah.
18. And then there's Louisiana or Texas or whatever it is, where if you want to get on Pornhub, you have to upload a photo of your driver's license.
And it's crazy that Louisiana is that progressive and of all places, right? That's sounds like a good idea to me.
Louisiana itself is not progressive, like
No,
that
I know, but I'm
in
saying
that
to
way.
have
Yeah,
that kind of a policy.
it's wild.
How do you let
It's wild.
Louisiana be the first one to do something like that?
Yeah.
Out of all the things that, I just yeah, I there's gotta be a better way, man, and again, I looked into this stuff because I was the first thing I asked myself when it came to all this AI crap is when you create something, you have to weigh the costs as much as the benefits. And their benefit that they're saying mission statement wise is to ensure that AGI benefits all of humanity, right? And I had underlined ensure because what do you mean by that? And then benefits, I underlined that. I'm like, okay, well, what benefits are we talking about? And then it said then it said all of humanity, and I underlined that. I'm like, okay, so we're talking about everybody, all age ranges, whatever else. They're saying they want to ensure, okay? So that means that you have an inherent responsibility to make sure that it's actually benefiting everybody. And I don't know if you've sent me one that I felt is a benefit to anybody yet. Every single one
No.
that I've seen that I've sent is like, that's a problem. Like that's not good. That's
So
not helping anybody. And
part
it
of
it's just like
part of the conversation I had with my coworkers today was because we're using ChatGPT for our business, like we're to
this is by
find.
the way, OpenAI, they created ChatGPT too. It's
I
under
know,
the same
I
it's under
know,
the
I know.
same umbrella. So I mean this
Yeah,
company, again, it is one aspect, but you know,
but we were trying to find. We're using ChatGPT to help us with selling things for our business, but I don't see yet the benefit to humanity, like the benefit to our business on this particular platform. Like, I know that there's some companies that we partner with that will create AI generated home tours with you as the realtor. You kind of like scan your face type of thing, and it will put you into videos showing the property without actually taking a full professional video. And that's the direction that I kind of see platforms like Sora going in, is that as the algorithm gets better, as it understands more and more, like this large language model, once these prompts get to a point where it understands things better and quicker and faster, and with less words it'll get more done. There is they are going to monetize this in a way, and they're going to sell this technology to movies or to other avenues that could benefit from video content in this way. And that's the benefit to humanity that I believe is the purpose of this. Right now, the only benefit is for the lulz, if you will.
yeah. I mean, I think, because it's new, people are pushing the boundaries, right? To see
Yeah.
what the guidelines are, how far what will this thing actually let me make?
Hmm.
I don't see it as but it's again, if you see the mission statements of Facebook and Instagram, I guarantee you they say nothing about uh, the misinformation that was spread, the posts that leak can get through.
Good.
I bet their mission statement is about bringing people together that aren't close to you, and the social aspect of not the slew of like bullying and
Yeah.
like all the other kind of stuff. So I mean, you're always going to have somebody that, again, the atom in uranium, right? It could be a source of forever power, or it could
Yeah.
blow up the entire Earth. It all depends
Yeah.
on the user, how how you use it, right? And
Yeah.
it's what's interesting about their whole thing is so they talk about their guardrails and guidelines basically, right? Usage policies and stuff. And they do have 2 sets. So they have the set that's generically for everybody. I'm assuming they're saying over 18 and over, basically. And then they have teen specific ones. They have actual teen specific ones that are written down. The big ones being sexual content, graphic violence involving real people. They had to emphasize, um,
Oh, I'll tell you
which
right now
which means
that
you could have a fake person and rip all their limbs off, but it's not a
so
real person. But
the
you know,
people getting around that, I saw again when I was getting all that chicken content, there was a very realistic and violent like shootout but it was chickens, like big, like man-sized chickens, like a John Wick style, guns and bullets and blood, and like it was gnarly,
But just because it's fake chickens, right?
but because it's, you know,
So, and then we have extremist propaganda, and I have in parentheses next to it, how do you determine how do you determine what is extreme? Someone's gotta be vetting this stuff,
yeah.
and it's like you hope that it's a super unbiased, like, person, whatever else, but if you have someone that happens to be looking at it that, leans one way or the other, they get to determine what is extreme. I mean, hopefully reasonable people can tell, but, you
Well,
know
again, this is we're in the infancy of this though. Right now, there's an
Yeah.
algorithm that's policing this. They've
Well, and it
fed
means they're relying on the people that use it to do it for them.
correct, and as people report things, as people flag things, that bank of no words and concepts and is going to grow and grow and grow, and that is being
They're letting
condensed.
the forums create it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's hate content, which I had the same question, who's saying that it is and that it isn't.
It's the people that are flagging it.
Yeah, and then they have self-harm or eating disorders. I think the teen specific one, they say unhealthy diets and workouts, appearance critiques or bullying, dangerous challenges,
Mhm.
and then it says extremely offensive language, glorifying hatred, depression, promoting violence,
Interesting.
age restrictive activities and goods. So, I mean, I guess drinking underage and like whatever else.
Mhm.
Then it says drugs and substances. And the big question being, you have all these guidelines and you have all this stuff, but meanwhile they want to, they talk about robust guardrails to prevent unsafe or harmful, generations of the product. But then it's like, how do you balance freedom of creativity with having supposed robust guidelines, right? It's a balancing act of like, again, we want everybody to be freely creative. It's the whole thing that, even the same thing we were talking about last week, and we'll probably have more conversations about, is freedom limitless? Are you able to really do whatever you want, regardless of the consequences? And they're going to have to tote that line, or the community itself, whatever community is on Sora itself, is going to have to tote the line of, is this acceptable? Is this right? Or is it not? And how do we determine that? We just let the masses, decide what it is. And again, the I have a story too, just as far as like AI in general. There's a 7-Eleven by my house. Every now and then I go in there kind of late at night. I figure nobody's in there.
Yeah, of
I can get in and get out. Usually a late night, something stupid I probably should go in and get in anyway. But
course.
there's an older guy that works in there. He's always been pretty nice. He'll say hi and, we'll talk and stuff. And there was one day I walked in and he goes, hey, can I show you something? And I was like, sure.
Yeah, I want to see a dead body. Yeah.
And he pulls out his phone, right? He pulls out his phone and he turns it to me and it's a video. And it's not I'm going to preface this by saying it's not a good one. He's an older guy. I want to say he's probably, I'd put him in his 50s, you know? He's working at 7-Eleven. He's got his phone out and Trump is giving a speech and Trump is here and this guy walks up on stage and gives him a smack in the back of the head and everything
Mhm.
and just like walks off and he goes, that's not real, right? And I was like, are you shitting me? I'm like, no. I was like, of course that's not real. I'm like, you think some random dude is getting that close to the president and smacking him in the head? I was like, no. I was like, no, no. And I was like, and it didn't even look good, man. It didn't even look good, right? So,
It doesn't matter.
so
It doesn't matter.
well, and this guy, again, like, you got a mindset of, he's just a simple dude, it's late at night, we're working at 7-Eleven, he's not from here, he's going through stuff, and but he had to ask, and I'm like, firstly, I'm glad he asked. I'm glad that we have a relationship where you'll use me to vet certain shit. I was like, if you got a problem with this, I said, never be afraid to ask me anything else if you need to. But he looked at it, I said, "No, man. No, that's not." I said, "This random dude." I said, "Do you know how hard it is to get next to the president, Trump
Yeah,
or no Trump?" I was like, "But some random guy is not going to walk on the stage while he's giving a speech and assault the president with cameras on
yeah.
and everything." And he goes, his big response was, "Yeah, I didn't think so." He goes, "But where I'm from, sometimes it happens. I'm like, well, that doesn't happen here. I'm like, no. And like, that's where you get into the vulnerable populations, right? Who is most vulnerable to this stuff? And it's going to be kids and it's going to be the elderly. It's going to be people that don't know what is real and what is fake. And now, again, I think some of this stuff is to the extreme. So, like, rational people can say, oh, well, that chiropractor wouldn't have thrown that 80-year-old lady through the wall. Yeah.
Okay, but can we agree those videos are just incredible though? They're so ridiculous and they're hilarious.
And they don't look bad. Like, if you didn't know what to look for, they don't look that bad. Now, my big concern is that the videos are gonna get better. They're gonna get
That's what I'm
better
saying.
and then more hard to differentiate
Yeah.
real and not, especially if you start finding ways to remove that stupid little Sora thing,
So
you're gonna
okay,
find a way, but
I went through this I want to say like a year ago. The the school pictures came out and they give you like the proof, right? And it's got all the watermarks on it. And I like it's like, oh, it's like $40 for the just for the digital file. It's like I don't want to do that. And I threw it into I don't know, some website that like removes watermarks or whatever. And then because I was like Googling like removing watermarks, I got a bunch of videos on like YouTube that came up and videos on TikTok that were Photoshop people, like graphic artists. They're like, oh, you can easily remove watermarks. There are whole paid services online that will just remove watermarks. And they do it very, very well because they're using AI to remove the watermarks. And this is
AI knows AI.
AI knows AI. Yeah.
I even looked it up because I started thinking, like, how are we gonna be able to figure this out? And I tried to look up, how do you find it out? And you know what? It's not easy. For the
No,
regular person, it's not easy.
no.
Actually, I mean, again, we weigh the real world versus, like, would that really happen? Probably not. So
Yeah.
you make that assertion, right? But let's say there is one where, um, they tweak it just enough to where it could be, and you don't have those things at your disposal. I actually wondered, I'm like, I think there's gotta be another platform, and I would even say, if you consider this to be a, possible, like, public health crisis. So, like, let's say that these
Okay.
videos start coming out, they start massively affecting, again, those vulnerable populations where you're starting to see outcry from it, you're starting to see people get hurt from it. That would be one area where I'm like, "Okay, take the tax dollars, hire some people to do, like, this kinda thing." You start telling people, like, "Hey," the same thing as for calling 911 for help. If you have this video that's starting to make you feel a certain way, you can go here, you can do this thing or whatever else. We have this government provided service that vets these videos so that you know it's fake. We don't have to do that because we go right back into that thing where that conservative guy that you saw was watching a sword and he didn't know. But look at the age group he's in, and he's right in that thing of where now he's creating content. People are following him. Hopefully and if it's older people like him, what if that whole thing just inspired tens, hundreds of people that also don't know that that video was fake
Right.
and believing that? And you don't have enough people in the right generation or the right knowledge to tell him, like, "Hey, dude, look, I know it looks pretty good and everything, it sounds good, but it's fake."
Yeah.
You don't have that check and balance of this material, so it's just, how do you
Well, you know that
protect people?
the guy that was reacting to that stitch that I sent you. I love that guy's content. I think that he's doing what he can to and getting pissed and I do enjoy his content. I don't think that he treated that particular situation with enough grace because I think that at this point, this that video the guy believing that that video was real, I don't think that he's in the wrong. Like he wasn't maliciously believing that that was real. He was reacting to it.
No, I think it was a genuine
He genuinely did.
reaction, yeah, and for
So,
the other guy to come out, "Okay, boomer." Well, stop being condescending.
right?
Like,
So I think there is a level of grace, a level of understanding that we have to extend to people to say, hey, this is not real. You're not an idiot for thinking that this is real. It looks real.
yeah,
You're not stupid,
yeah,
but we have to understand. So let's come from a place of curiosity and understand that these are the things to look for. This is what the next, like, government, like outreach needs to be, is
Well, that's what I was saying, yeah.
identifying fake AI content, and that needs to be, you know, the Apple Store has how to use your iPhone things that a bunch of senior citizens and
Sure.
boomers go because they want to learn about this kind of stuff. And this needs to happen. There needs to be a push for identifying generated content like that, you know?
Yeah, but you know it's gonna take an extreme, right? Like, it's just it's not
Oh, it's
something
going to be
not something that's gonna
horrible.
be preventative, it's gonna be once somebody, like, really thinks that it got to a point, and then it then and, like, right now, I don't know that guy that was commenting on that guy's post and stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have been any different if it wasn't political, right? If that guy obviously wasn't right leaning, if the video obviously didn't have somebody from the left in it, and that guy having the reaction that he did to him, right? If it was, you worry about everybody's bias, right? When they make a
Of
video,
course.
and it's just, I really wish that it was just like, hey, this is about technology. This was fake. It didn't really have
Yeah.
to like, hey, you need to, adjust your stuff. It's not like insulting the guy right away just because he's old and doesn't know. Well, but did you have that approach because he didn't
Yeah.
know it
This
was
is
based
this
and
is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with both sides of the aisle though, is that inflammatory content, bad or good, gets eyeballs. That's
yeah.
the problem. I love that guy's content. I really do. He debates on TikTok live every night. Anybody can join his live and he'll debate. He talks to people on both sides, the middle, everywhere. He's very interesting. He knows what he's talking about. He's confident in what he's saying, and he hears people out. Gives people a platform so they can have open dialogue. I love that guy. But again, he was going after him as if he like what an asshole for believing that's real. That's not right to villainize someone for being fooled.
Yeah. Same thing. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're gonna go up and scream at an 8-year-old because he thinks the Santa Claus in the mall is real. It's like, well, no, it's just
Yeah.
he's a kid and he doesn't know. And it's just, you gotta but
This pull this
there's a way, a time and a place and a way that you tell that kid that, hey, Santa's not really okay, well, that guy's the same way. It's like, hey, man, it wasn't real.
Now that I'm saying this though, I mean, think about the people at the Trump rallies that they interview that believe the bullshit that Trump spews to them, that, the tariffs are that the China's going to pay the tariffs, and like that they're being full. There's a lot of people being fooled into believing things by the government, by the people on TV, that this everything in our world now is trying to convince you of something. And maybe there does need to be a little bit more space to get people on board and understanding that you can't believe everything you hear.
Well, I
That
mean, if
this
if that if
that whole thing about like, don't meet someone from the internet, don't get in a stranger's car. And now we have Uber where we call a stranger's car from the internet, and we get in when we're super drunk, and like in a very vulnerable spot, right? Our parents and their parents' generation tried to teach them to not believe everything that we hear, and to not judge a book by its cover. And that, for like boomers especially, has been lost. Absolutely lost. They believe everything they hear on TV, whether it's right or left. They believe everything they hear. They believe everything they see on Facebook. The Black Menaces just went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and they were interviewing people, and this guy was like, "Well, I get all my news from Twitter." And he's like, "Okay, well, where do you verify any of the information?" He goes, "Well, where do you verify it?" He goes, I read scholarly journals. Like, there's colleges all the time. He's like, "Oh, colleges are just indoctrinating." Da, 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 and he ended up just cursing him out and walking away. But that's been like, would you agree that's been lost? That trying to find sources to corroborate information.
well, and I mean, the one thing I will say is that, advanced education teaches you how to vet sources. They keep you from plagiarizing. They keep you from just having opinions about things, right? They will say, cite your sources, and they will show you, like, here's Google. Okay, here is the real side of Google where you can look up articles and you can look up, you know, research, but nobody even knows there's another side to Google.
But
there's a and but and, you know, again, in this older generation, they weren't really in school so much as in trades and doing stuff. So I mean, I think it's a lack of, and they weren't educated on the internet and educated on all these kinds of things.
yeah, but they were educated in encyclopedias and research papers and
Yeah,
more so than we are now. Kids these days are I mean, even I'll blame myself. I'm a
that older generation has lost their skepticism. They've lost their independence of thought, kind of, where it's just like, this dude's on TV. Well, he must be saying no. He can just be a bullshitter like everybody else.
well,
Do you
that
believe me?
generation was used to Walter Cronkite and, like, the people on the news that didn't lie. They
Yeah,
have
we're on
unbiased, and
side
they wanted
reporting.
the truth to be the prevalent, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I saw Piers Morgan just interviewed a potential governor for California, right? And, if anybody was listening, and he actually interviewed 2. He interviewed this progressive woman first, mainly
Mhm.
because the other Democratic runner is tanking like crazy because stuff's coming
Right.
out about her, just about she's just being a bitch, honestly. And
You talking
it's
about Katie Porter?
yeah,
She's going through it right now. That's not
man.
yeah, that's not normal Katie Porter. She's usually
Well,
she's going
we
she's
don't know what I don't know what normal Katie Porter is, because then it got her divorce papers got released about how she talked to her husband too, and that's not great either. So she's doing that, and then
the way she talks to her husband, it has nothing to do with her ability to
okay, and the way she talks to her staff.
yeah,
So
most of the people that we love treat their staff like shit, you know? Like,
well, you know what? People need to be better. Sorry.
yeah,
They need
I
to be
agree.
better.
I don't think that
And
means it
if
I
you're
don't mean that
if you're being recorded, be smarter. Come on. What are we
oh, I'm
doing?
with you on that. I'm with you on that. I don't think that makes her a bad politician, though.
Oh, I don't know, man. I haven't looked into her and what she votes and how she does stuff and everything else. But then
I've seen her take to task
basically,
CEOs of CEO of Chase and the CEO of big billion-dollar companies and say, "Why do you make $92 million a year, but the lowest paid person, a teller at the bank, can't afford to live?" And she's big on, like, the whiteboard and breaking things down
yeah.
and being very black and white and clear about the numbers.
Well, and the interesting thing too is that okay, so then there's another woman running for governor who
Mhm,
did not waste time and Katie Porter getting all that bad
mhm.
publicity and stuff. She was like, "Oh, you know, she should stop running because obviously she's not, you know, this." I'm like, "Wow,
Yeah,
you're cutting her quick." But
yeah,
Piers goes on to ask her some questions, and he brought up, you know, men and female sports and everything else, and he starts asking her like, "Hey, obviously Katie Porter, you know, has some feelings about this. You know, what do you feel about it?" And she was like, "Men that transition to women, identify as women, should be women." He goes, "Okay." He's like, "The Olympics are coming to LA." He goes,
mhm,
"Do you think that we should just have non-gendered, like, firstly, he asked her, "Why do you think the Olympics separate sexes?" And she freely admits, first of all, that firstly, she doesn't quite say it, but she goes, "Well, you know, men might have some physical advantages." I'm like, "Okay, fine. We'll go light on the might, okay?" He goes, "Okay, so you're admitting that there are physical differences that would make it unfair if we didn't separate the sexes." And then so "So now are you saying, you know, in your grand scheme of things that you want an, you know, a non-gendered Olympics?" And she goes, "Well, you know, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but I think it's worth talking about." He goes, "What is there to talk about?" He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you understand that the last Olympics we had, women would have won four medals at all out of the 4 or 500 that were given?" He goes, "If the women had competed with men," he goes, "Name one event aside from archery that women would beat or compete with men in track and field." And
sure.
she had the nerve to say that "Oh, well, you know, women, have shown, uh, the ability to, you know, to be kinda fast." He goes, "Are you talking about sprinting? Are you talking about running?" And she goes, "Well, you know," and he goes, "What event? The 100 meter, the 200, the 1,000?" "Oh, well, you know, the shorter races." He goes, "Do you think that anybody in the world," he goes, "men can't keep up with Usain Bolt." He goes, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, he goes, "This is where it gets, you know, a little bit insane, is that if you listen to some of these progressives when it comes to those kinds of, the same way if you want to say, if you want to listen to, oh, you know, conservatives and they say this, yeah, but you got a bunch
Mhm,
of women that think that they could compete with the top performance of men when other men can't even compete with them. And it's like
sure.
some guy even did had a thing where he said all of the top performing male high school athletes in Texas, all of them had faster times than the fastest woman in the world, high school boys. And this lady got on, governor of whatever, trying to be governor, saying that it's okay to let, men and women sports, as if you did that, like all the other women are not going to get whooped exactly the way that it happens. Leah Thomas was beating swimmers by 50 seconds. Have you ever swam? Do you know how far away a 50-second lead is in the pool? Are you shitting
Yeah.
me? It's not even, see, it's it's irrational. It's not even relative thinking to think that that's a thing. So if you were to listen to her though, if you were to listen to progressives though, she thinks that it's a good, and
Are we the only country?
why is it always someone that's never played a sport in their lives? She
Are
even
we the only country that's having this conversation about the Olympics?
There's a lot of countries that have completely stepped back from this whole gender issue.
Step back in what way?
That they're just not entertaining the conversation as much as we are anymore.
Okay. So,
Because you heard about the track and field kid in California, right?
hmm,
The track and field sprinter and stuff was just smoking people. It wasn't even close. It was a transgender female that identified, and it's not even competitive.
okay.
And it's fine. You know what? Again, male sports are going to be fine. We're not going to notice. It's just it's not going to be because show me a trans man that's going to compete when biological ones and everything can't even compete with the best ones. And it's not going to be the male sports that are, and it's at a time where people talk about the patriarchy and talk about the advantages of men. And it's like, well, you won't even let women succeed against women. And you have these irrational people that think that if it was fine, let's take gender out of it. Name a sport, Jackson. Name a sport where it's competitive, dude. Let women play against the men. Let's see what happens. It's not gonna work. It's never gonna work. And if you're a girl of any kind growing up and let's say, oh, I want to play soccer for Team USA and whatever else. Yeah, well, you know what? The world's women's soccer team, the ones that were complaining about not getting paid like the men, there was like a few high school team that beat them like 7-0 in
Mhm.
soccer. So I think we need to keep playing. We need to keep doing it like that. If they think that it's there, fine. And we don't change the rules. We don't add in any handicaps because you think it's even to even. You think that we're on the same plane, and that's what progressives would have you believe, that anybody can do anything that someone else can do. Fine, let's see. And which is, again, men are going to sit back and we'll be like, fine, go ahead, play, because our sports will be fine. You can take the 5 best women basketball players right now and put them up against the 5 best of men, and it's not even going to be fun to watch. You can't do hockey. Women play under different rules. Can't fight,
Mhm.
can't hit, full cages. Let's play men's hockey and not change the rules. No, we have to, because it wouldn't be fair. But if you listen to the progressives the same way you lead on as to how these conservatives, whatever else, progressives are just as batshit crazy as the rest of them. You can't say stuff like that. Because if push comes to shove, sports are a very physical thing. There's a plus and a minus in sports, and it's very obvious. And, what do you do with that?
I mean, my thing is, I'm not like a sports guy. So my answer to your question is like, who fucking cares? It's sports.
See, that's the whole thing that gets
I don't.
belittled by the whole conversation too. But I worry about someone's rationale that even is, because again, like let's take something that a conservative or Republican would think that you think would be kind of an unhinged opinion, right?
Mhm.
That's the level at which I see the other side is that, and what's worse for me is that it's a tangible thing that can be seen and can be proven, and they just, oh well, you never know. Like, no, we do, we absolutely do though.
What do you mean you never know?
About this whole, can women compete with men? We do know though. There's nothing but 100 years worth of data of performance and times and everything else. We know. What is there to be unknown? She keeps saying like, oh, well, it's a
Who's
conversation.
being hurt in that situation?
What do you mean? Give me the specific example that
No, I
you're.
mean like that you have a very strong opinion about this. Who is being hurt by this? What's like where's the harm? Who's being harmed in this
The
situation?
harm in what? And just what she's saying, or what
What does it matter?
ideal thing of
What does it matter?
what does what matter?
Okay, people that, someone that transitions and wants to compete, in a sport in their chosen,
I think that's more of a question for you. You have daughters.
right?
Do they compete in anything? Will
Yeah,
they
of course.
will they compete in anything?
Yeah.
Okay. What if you ended up telling them one day that because of the way that these people view things, this sport or competition that you love, you'll never you'll never be the best in it. You'll never have
What does that matter
acknowledgement.
being the best at
Well, I mean, that goes into you just leading with not being a sports person and being competitive.
that's what I'm saying. That's the point of view that I'm coming from.
That's the drive of it, right? If I never thought that I was going to do
Justin, we're
anything,
not talking about me though. I'm asking you, where is the harm to
well,
you?
see,
What is the
and I'm
harm?
trying to relate it to you because it doesn't seem like you see it. Now, again, you have daughters that would run into this situation more than I would. What if you again? You'd have to take something that you're passionate about, and you would only devote time and energy in your life to doing something if you wanted to be good at it or great at it or try and win at it. That's the only reason. So, like, you can say that people there are sports for hobbies and there's
Uh-huh.
sports for a profession and to do stuff because you want to do it. What if you were ended
Okay.
up telling them that, hey, you know what? Because this is the lay of the land now and here, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage. You're probably never going to beat this person or these kinds of people in your sport. So now you have to settle, you're going to have to constantly settle for less
Okay.
because you had the whole Leah Thomas thing, right? Where she went over there and she won gold and did whatever else. And it wasn't just one person and everyone underneath her received less
Okay.
because it was let happen. When in the men's world, she never even podium, never even competed.
Sure.
So again, I think it's for me, it's just it's not a it's a matter of fairness. And like the whole point of this conversation was you let in pretty strong, for normal, that the conservatives have this view. And if you were to listen to them, right? If you listen to them and the influence they have, people would have this opinion, right? Well, if you listen to the progressives and you hear what they hear, you would have that opinion. That just anybody can do whatever they want, and it's all this kind of stuff, completely neglecting
But again, who is being harmed in that situation?
every female that is competing in that event that now has to receive less because someone went over there that is has higher performance than they do.
Okay. And that's going to affect.
It just seems like you're dismissing
I'm not
people
dismissing. I'm
that
coming
see
from a
less.
place of curiosity. I'm trying to. Okay, so my kids play baseball or they play
Oh, well,
basketball or soccer or something.
doesn't Addie do gymnastics of
Yeah.
some kind? Okay. What if she gets later in life and she wants to be, on Team USA and do all that kind of stuff?
Okay.
What happens if a guy wants to go over the team and now she's out because there was a man that transitioned to a woman and he can do everything better than her? And now she doesn't get to do that thing she wants to do, knowing that she'll never compete with the strength, the size, the speed, anything. Now you have to have a conversation with her that you've built
So
your entire life up to do this thing, and because of these social things that we're acknowledging, you're now not going to be able to do that.
is her life in general going to be worse? Health, education, like,
Well, you're using your priorities versus hers. What if that thing is one of the most important things in her life? That wouldn't go into the
yeah,
mental aspect
winning the
of
lottery is
not
is
you're
an
not
important thing in
succeeding
my
at
life.
something that you want to
Like
do.
that's the likelihood of that being the driving force of a person's life is very, very low.
It's not. My entire mental health and everything went into playing the game. I
Okay,
when my career was done, I got fat, I got hurt, I got depressed, I did
sure.
everything else because I put everything I had into playing. And there's a lot of people that once your career is over, once you get to the point where you can't compete anymore because people are better in the world, you're never the best. It's really hard to walk away. It takes a lot out of you to realize that
Okay,
that dream that you had, that thing that you have is done. And at least
okay,
for me, I was outcompeted by someone on a fair playing field. There were guys that are bigger, guys that are stronger, guys that threw harder. There were just guys that were flat out better. But I always felt that I had a chance, and depending on what it was, there was never a guy that showed up where he's on steroids and testosterone and everything else. I'm like, well, okay, well, that's not fair. It didn't happen that way, but it's happening in the inverse, where you have, some, and when we haven't figured it all out yet, right? As far as the transitioning, when it can happen, but it really seems like the transitioning, in order to be fair, has to happen pre-puberty, because as soon as boys hit puberty, testosterone grows, bone density grows, muscle mass grows, and then you get to the point where it's not fair. And you have to tell
Okay.
all these women that compete in these sports, which again, it doesn't sound like you have a full understanding of, or just empathy or feeling towards, that
I
because of
have empathy that someone that
because
wants
of the way
to
that we're
excel.
doing things, you
I have
know,
empathy for someone that wants to be the best at what they're doing. I do. I get that. But the I don't know. I mean, like, okay, you want to make so that you're saying that for someone that wants to make that sport their career, they want that to be their livelihood. Is that who you're focusing on?
yeah,
Okay. So, you know,
pretty much every woman in the pool that day where Leah Thomas got to dive in,
uh-huh.
everybody finished second just because, and
Okay.
by a margin that they had never been beaten by before.
Okay.
It's not fair. But again, if you, just like you said, if you listen to one people or one type of thing, and you believe that, if you listen to the other, you would think it's not a big deal. It's not this and it's not that. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? I don't want to speak for the women in that pool that day and what they felt losing to a trans woman, because I've already felt it. I know what it's like for the dream to be done. I know what, but you know what? Again, at least for me, I knew that there were better guys, and we played on the same level, and I had a fair shot, whereas they didn't that day. And for people that claim to care about fairness and equality and stuff like that, you cannot tell me it was fair and equal, because the times will show it absolutely was not.
Uh-huh.
And that's the whole discussion around all this. He tried to tell him, he was like, okay, well, do you support transgenders in Olympic boxing? Because we know how that worked out last time.
I have a friend who competed as a female Olympic boxer, transitioned, and now not anymore, but was competing on the Olympic level as a male boxer. And the rules that were changed and regulations and things made it so that he couldn't compete as a male because he wasn't biologically male. There and
The
sure,
gold
you
the
can
gold
say
the
that.
gold medalist for women test positive for male chromosomes in the last Olympics, man. And he hit some girl so hard in 40 seconds she quit.
Sure.
I mean,
I don't disagree
it's
with you that it's not
right?
fair. I'm not saying that. I just from not being someone that hinged my life on sports. That's where I'm coming from is saying like, okay, like I get it. It's not fair. I do. I understand it.
And you know what? That person that Piers was talking to that wants to be governor, she led with the same thing. Well, I'm not big in sports. Well, maybe you shouldn't be commenting on it then. Because if you've never done it, if you haven't put in the sweat and the time and the injuries and everything else that it takes to pursue this thing that you love and that you want to do with your life, where are you to dismiss it? We all know there are other parts of
But the
life,
people
great,
the
but it's
people
like,
that are allowing someone like Leah Thomas to compete, aren't they involved in sports pretty heavily?
yeah, and that's what a lot of the non-sporting progressives will say, is that, oh, we should leave it up to the sporting bodies, and it's like, yeah, but you're about to be governor. Are you gonna say you have no influence? You talking with a camera on, you're not influencing people in their views at all, and in the ways at which you do that kind of stuff?
Is this a private company?
What are you talking?
Is the Olympic team a government organization?
They have like a board and people that review stuff and all that. Same thing with like the NCAA will have rules on competition and stuff like that.
Right, but so this is a non, this is a non-public body.
Well, and I think we're digressing away from originally what it was brought up to say. Again,
Right.
and you were very outspoken conservatively. You never say anything about the progressives, really. You lead with like, oh, this crazy person on the right said this. And the only reason I even bring up the other side is because if I didn't say anything, well, it would just be you saying stuff about the right. And it's like I'm not even right leaning, man, but I'm gonna call it evenly, saying that there's stuff over here that these people say that is detached from reality also.
Right, but
And
that's the
again,
point.
if you
That's the
listen,
point of us having these conversations,
yeah,
though,
I
is that
know.
from my point of view and from your point of view. I mean, I'm not saying in any way that I don't believe that there is a counterpoint to what I'm saying. That's why we're having this conversation, is to meet in the middle and talk about things from different perspectives. That's the whole point.
Oh yeah.
That the Olympics, sports in general, are non-public institutions that have the authority to make these decisions. I agree with you. It's not fair, but again, it's like this is not a constitutional right to a
Well, firstly, there's Title
fair and
IX.
equal conversation. I
Well,
get that.
there was Title IX, and
Sure,
that actually established and created the guidelines for equal women representation in sports.
sure.
And again, that's fine. I mean, if you let men transition, all the records are going to be held by transitioning men. Women are not going to dominate their sports anymore. There was even in lifting, Olympic lifting, a trans woman. No natural woman is going to ever touch that girl on lifting anymore. She wiped it across the board. And it's like, you know what? I had if I was playing something or doing something and this person came in that was obviously different from me, and they just set records that no one's ever going to be able to attain, why do I even show up? Why do
Do
I
you
even play?
do
Why
you
do I even
believe
participate?
that those records will go down in history with an asterisk, though?
They're not now. And if
They're
it were
not
up to
now, but
if it were, and then the more important thing, right? If it were up to the progressive left, they wouldn't, because she's a woman.
okay.
I just, we get into this stuff where it's like social media
I mean,
and AI
but
and everything else, we're gonna be thinking that all the stuff we see is real life and it's real, and we can't tell the
correct.
difference anymore. And I
Would you agree that like the what was it, like Sosa, McGuire, like that whole era of like the crazy home run stuff, there was juice involved in that. No
yeah,
one, no one is. I mean, and that went down in history as yeah, there's are fucking juiced up dudes that were crushing home runs.
yeah.
History will, I think, I believe, history will have those footnotes.
Well, you know that none of those guys made the Hall of Fame either. Like
Correct.
everybody, so at least there's some type of fail-safe corrective mechanism in it to where it's like that, they didn't. And it was
I
just
just like I think I agree with you that there is a level of unfairness to it. The number of athletes, trans athletes that create these unfair situations, to my knowledge, and again, I don't know, but from my understanding, it's not an overwhelming number of trans athletes that are throwing things off. I mean, like South Park did that whole thing about like Randy Savage type of thing, like competing as a woman, like specifically transitioned to blow like biological women out of the water when it came to sports. I understand someone like Leah Thomas that yes, that was like there's a seeking suspicion that was the point to gain that competitive edge. I don't know how often that happens. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of intent just to have an unfair competitive advantage. The same as like taking steroids, or the same as rigging the game in some other way. I don't think history will be unfair when it comes to denoting these situations.
I yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
they will,
My
but
my whole thing is that, it's Leah Thomas was one person, right? But
sure.
how many people lost because of her? And
Yeah.
it's the people in the entire sport, that whole meet and everything else. That one female boxer, she beat everybody. So which means everybody underneath her was one level down than what it should have been. That trans weightlifter.
Mhm.
It's not just one position. It's not just that they did and then everybody, no, it's everybody else finished underneath that. everybody.
Right.
So, and it's crazy, right? Because again, it doesn't affect me so much. I like fairness and equality across the board, and I don't like people, again, losing out. For me, if this is gonna be a thing and whatever else, create another category then. What's
Sure.
what's what's the big deal? You're obviously we have these people that physically this is the category then, and these people physically this is the category that they're in, all based on physical performance. And if you
Mhm.
have someone that's kind of in the middle, what do we do with that? And it's just again,
So
I don't know we're gonna get a whole lot of advocacy from men and stuff because our sports aren't gonna be affected. Again, we're gonna be fine. But I also don't want it to be where women all of a sudden start standing up and saying like, "Hey, it's not fair. All of our daughters and everybody else gets to finish second because we're letting this happen." And all because we what? We want
don't you think that's what it would
to
take
participate.
to do what you're saying, a third category?
Uh, People talk about it, I think, yeah, it's gonna be something like that. But what if Leah Thomas is in that pool swimming by herself? Well,
So
that's what
here's
you gotta do. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, but what would that third category be? Trans? Like the like
I have no idea.
because I could see a world where everyone gets evaluated for their muscle density and their ability
Chromosomes, man.
and
They lead with.
what?
It's chromosomes. That's what they lead with.
But I'm not going off of chromosomes. There are absolutely fucking units of women that could compete with a wafery man.
Yeah, but that's not apples to apples in that scenario. You're talking about the top level of female who would compete against who? The bottom level of men? Why would that even be a competition then?
To have matched ability.
Yeah, but that
The
that
same way
doesn't
that
make
we have
sense.
heavyweight, welterweight, lightweight, featherweight, or whatever, like we're matching, huh?
It's still same gender on same gender.
Right. But why couldn't it be broken into ability, size, like that, so that there could be an equal playing field in sports? Like it doesn't have to be just like X, Y, or Z. It could be
That you'd have to provide a thing. Fighting is a very specific example because weight and size. A welterweight getting in the ring with a heavyweight, it's not even gonna be close. He's gonna
right.
outweigh it
But this
by
is the same
100
thing
pounds.
with the swimming. So someone that has like you could test ability in that way if you're
You
like you
you get in the pool and you swim.
right. So if someone is 50 seconds ahead, sorry, we don't have a category for someone in that.
Well, we did, but they went to the other category.
Right, but now you have to move into that category. That will take out the slowest men swimmers. It will raise up the fastest women swimmers, and there will be it'll be a real competition. You're not. It's not a 12th grader beating up a third grader. You're gonna narrow the category. Maybe I think there's an argument to say like, oh, it's not fair that there's not a less skilled category or a
Come
I'm
on,
not
dude. We're
I'm not as
getting we're
strong as
getting
this
we're
person.
get we're getting into the participation trophy thing where
But I'm not asking for participation.
yeah,
You
but
still
you're
have to
but you're you're
qualify.
you're talking about
There's
creating and
still
delineating lesser and lesser categories when it's the whole object of the sport is to be the best at that thing and do the best thing. Not everybody gets something. That's not how it
I don't
works.
think everybody should get something, but they're the bottom 30% don't get to compete. They don't get anything. And
Yeah, because 'cause they're the bottom 30%.
right. But if the only thing that's making me into that over that 30% is the fact that I've transitioned to a different gender. And so now the pool of competition has now been lowered for me. That's not fair. And if I am at the absolute top of my game as a woman and I say, well, I want to compete with people that are on my level, that are better than me, that are so that I'm in this band of athletic ability, why can't I?
I don't think that there's a male sport that would not let female athletes compete. The only problem is
So you're okay with going up but not going down?
what's the problem with going down? The problem with going down is that there's an inherited advantage. Going up, you have to be better.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
di that's the difference. So, did you ever see the interview where Serena Williams gets asked if she would ever play against men?
I've heard it. Yeah.
She thought that question was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
She was like, "I'm the best female in the world." She goes, "I don't serve 100 miles an
Yeah.
hour. I've never returned a serve that's 100 miles an hour." She's like, "I wouldn't be able to compete." And
Right.
she goes, "And that's not even against the best man in the world. That's against hundreds of ranks and stuff." So it's like, "Yeah,
Sure.
go ahead, compete. It's not gonna be fun. You're not gonna enjoy it, or you can stay in the category that highlights the best women in the world and do that. And you have over here where it's the best men in the world and you compete so that it's fair." That's
Okay.
the whole thing. But I mean, it's again, if you listen to one side or the other and you just listen to them as if they were facts, where does it leave us? It's not,
Yeah.
I just think it's just ridiculous. And the crazy thing is that Piers Morgan, of course, had the one Republican running for governor come on right after he interviewed that lady.
Mhm.
The guy was, like, already just, like, laughing and shaking his head. He was like and Piers was even like, "Every now and then when I have these conversations with, like, ultra progressives that think that, gender is a state of mind," he's like, "I keep waiting for, like, the moment of, like, where it's a joke, where they're kidding." And he's like, "And it never comes." He's like,
Mhm.
it never comes." He goes, "I try and lay out the most rational, like, things to these people, thinking that, maybe they're just messing with me, and
Sure.
it never comes." And he's like, "I don't know what you're supposed to do with that." So, I mean, it's just, it
Sure.
goes both ways. Again, my whole thing is like, dude, I see it from both sides. The whole stuff you were talking about them changing, I Bibles in schools and whatever else. I think that stuff is just that's just ridiculous also. But I mean, to say that the left and the Democrats don't have some cockamamie stuff that they absolutely do. It's not even close. And this
I don't
whole
know who made that argument. I'm not. I didn't say that. I think
you
it's pretty
hardly ever
clear.
you hardly ever do though. That's the one thing. I think if we play a lot of these things back, it'll
We
be
play a lot of things back. I edit these. I trim these down. I constantly say on the left and the right, on the left and the right.
yeah, but all your examples are what?
That's my perspective.
And that's fine.
That's why
That's
we're having
fine.
these conversations, Justin.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I have an apartment that only stares at a brick wall and you have an apartment that stares at an open field, I don't see the open field. I'm talking to you so that you can tell me more about the open field.
Mhm.
You know, that this is I don't claim to have all of the answers or to have the perspective of both sides. I can assume what I think the other side is, but if I haven't experienced it, if I don't know about it, then I'm coming from a place of curiosity. I in no way I'm saying that fucking liberals and progressives aren't don't do crazy shit. Of course they do. We all do. We're human beings. We're stupid. You know that I just that like everything comes back for me. Everything comes back to our rights being taken away, true human rights being taken away. That's where I draw the line. And for sports, it's like, yeah, that's great. I get that it's not fun to watch. I get that the people that are competing don't feel that it's fair. I get it. I don't think that it's fair that someone with outrageously different athletic abilities can blow everybody out of the water. I don't think that that's fair. I think that there is a way for us to not alienate someone based on their chosen gender. And, I think that I don't know. I think that there are answers to this question or to this discussion that could be viable. I don't think
Like
that
what?
that it I don't think that it's a participation trophy thing. I think that it's that matching people with their ability makes for good competition. But again, I don't care about sports. So I'm the wrong person to talk to about this. You're not going to convince me that this matters as much as it matters to you because it's just not something it's not a core value of mine, sports. I love hockey. I think that it would be unfortunate if I was a big fan of women's hockey and suddenly there was some 6'7" Nordic motherfucker that is just checking people and like blowing everybody out of the water. That's not fair. But again, it doesn't matter to me. You
Yeah.
know.
I mean, right now it's isolated in sports. I mean, who knows if it'll creep into other things at some point, but you know,
Sure.
I think it's just sports is the easy thing because it's should be like an obvious one where you're like, okay, well, both you guys run and let's see what happens. Or both you guys do this and we'll see. Well, okay, and so we can see those things, and
Sure.
it's just it's crazy that such a tangible thing the conversation has become about the intangible, and
Mhm.
when it's just you know life and humanity has weeded it out for us. We don't really have to micromanage that stuff in the ways, but because it's been mixed in with some of these emotional things, it's something we have to talk about for some reason when we never had to talk about it before. But again, it's back to the beginning. It's all about who you listen to. And if you
Sure.
think what they're saying is right, and what can they do with their influence and how they say things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and who the hell knows what AI is gonna come again, all this stuff, right? I'm curious as to what happens when, those big political parties with all that money are able to invest in stuff like Sora and AI, and what type of political propaganda
Oh,
can
the propaganda machine is
it's
gonna
like.
be absolutely terrifying.
And again, and you know what, man? Old people vote. At least the younger generation, they're slowly starting to vote. They don't really vote as much, but old people vote. And it's like,
Mhm.
if you can't tell the difference, if you can't tell the difference between, this kind of stuff, I mean,
Sure.
what happens to it? And if you don't have anybody there to help you, how do you yeah, it's imagine what they could have. I mean, we see the stuff now. You saw the videos of this stuff they're saying that they can make Trump say, or like, change speeches. Did you send me the one, or did you see the one with
Mhm.
Martin Luther King where someone walks up and says something? And if you didn't know, it looks pretty good. But what are you supposed to do with that though? You don't have somebody that's there to tell you like, "Hey, it's not real, it's not happening."
Yeah. Well, like this is was it Rule 43 or whatever? Like if you can think of it, it's already on the internet. Like that there's this is like the dark human psyche that if you can think of it, Sora will make a video about it. And that's terrifying. Like you could have a really funny idea and put it into something like Sora and you're going to get content and you can tweak that content. And this is going to change things for content generation in general. And I think that there's a dark side of everything. There are very dark corners of YouTube. There's 4chan and 8chan and all the crazy message boards and like hyper racist and hyper, you know, just conspiracy type of shit. There are there's always a bad side of things. And innovation with it in itself brings good and bad. There's two sides to every coin. I think that we haven't seen the worst of this, and I don't think we've seen the best of it. I
No,
think we're still in that very early infancy where we're not really sure where this is going to go. I'm scared that if it does get much worse, there's no we've already
the
the
bogden's
cork's
open. Yeah,
the cork's out of the bottle. You know, if it's not Sora, it's going to be Gemini or it's going to be like another big
someone will make
company.
something.
Yeah, because
I
now we have the roadmap for it.
Yeah. I also don't want this particular, AGI or whatever else to negatively influence other things that could be beneficial.
Sure.
Like AI in general, AI as far as it comes to the medical field and stuff, how AI can run through all of the diagnostics and everything else way faster than a doctor could ever look through files and look through case studies and everything and narrow down what's going on. Even with you know, LA based stuff as far as the Palisades, right? All that stuff went up. And you have to think about it already takes a long time for the city to review plans, for
Yeah, of
architects to
course.
design them and everything.
Yep.
And then, Rick Caruso actually worked with a firm that's using AI to submit your plans and quickly go through everything. Like there absolutely should be an AI form that can look through all the pages, scan for all of the building codes and all the generic things, but then you have a planner that looks it over one time and makes sure that what the AI found or what the AI is doing is correct. So you use it as that proofread, and then you always need that human intervention of let me take a look at what the AI said is good or wrong and make sure that it's being applied correctly. If it I don't see how it couldn't be beneficial and everything else. So, I mean, it's just I really
Sure.
hope that that all the negatives of this stuff don't conflate what could be positive things. And then it just comes down to regulation and how do you protect people?
It's
But
wild.
it's going to be interesting to see where it goes because the stuff that has come out so far
Mhm.
creates a significant amount of pause. So I don't know.
It's been a good conversation, Justin. It's nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
We'll see where this goes.
Yeah,
All right. Good corner to you, sir.
good corner to you too.